Welcome to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and today a little bit more informal video. I'm thinking hopefully I don't make any catastrophic errors and have to restart this. I'm just gonna sort of wing it. A lot of times when I do record these videos, I do multiple takes, and until I get one that I'm happy enough with. But usually because I talk for so long, there's a few errors here and there. Okay, right. So what are we talking about today? The Berlin Major starts up tomorrow, and I guess in like how many hours? One of these will tell me, right? It's like, because it starts early in the morning, 12 hours. Yeah, it starts in fewer than 13 hours, I guess, right? And maybe even less for 15 hours and 15. And what is this one? Yeah, okay. So in like 12 hours, it's starting up, and well, I'll almost certainly be asleep at that time, but I'll have to tune into some of the matches, and actually I'll double check some times. Maybe I'll be getting up early to catch something, but I don't know, not too much of a morning person generally, especially super early. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I kind of wanted to do some more stuff talking about the major before we got into it, maybe examine some of the teams, but I don't know, I guess I'm probably just going to do about what I normally do. I think I'm just sort of going to rank them, and I guess not even rank so much. I'm just going to predict the groups, and yes, I mean, if you've been following along through NAL, my predictions were pretty atrocious, and I think I should be a little bit more, how would you say, not qualified, but capable of making accurate prediction for NAL, and well, unfortunately I did very badly, but lots of people did. It was a crazy stage. Next stage might be even crazier, which is also crazy in and of itself to say, or at least at the beginning, because of how many roster changes have already been made and how many more are expected to be made before the stage starts up. So we'll see if any like strong trends solidify themselves throughout the stage, but the beginning should be wild. Anyways, okay, so we are going to talk about Group A, B, C, D. Of course, I've talked about this a little bit in the last few videos, but I'm going to give my more formal thoughts on it, I suppose. Some of this might be rehashing, do keep that in mind. So actually, let me just close this stuff up. I don't need it open. Yeah, I thought about doing this in a tier list, but it's mostly for your guys' sake, so that you can see who's in which group. If I just had a tier list, it would just be all the teams jumbled in if you weren't fully aware of who's in which group. It might get kind of confusing, so this way I can just go group by group. And I don't actually want to start with Group A because I feel like this is maybe the hardest one to call. I think I keep seeing people post their own predictions, and I want to say I've seen just about every combination. I think I've already seen at least I've seen people put all four of these teams in making it out of the group or not making it out of the group, and that was in just a handful, because I've seen some people say Damwon and Nip. I've seen people say Rogan X. I've seen just like almost every combination, even though there are a lot of combinations. I'm going to skip over that. And I guess we'll talk about Group C first, the supposed group of death here. And so once again, we'll see how Gaming Gladiators do. I don't think anybody has high expectations. Maybe that'll work in their favor. Maybe even Oxygen, W7M, and Wolves will underestimate them because they intend to prep more for the other of the teams, obviously, besides themselves. And my understanding is that the situation hasn't been great. A lot of the teams that have just arrived recently weren't able to practice until today being Sunday, the day before the event. Like, they got there and then, they, for whatever reason, couldn't practice. Also had to do some media stuff. So we'll see if that hampers the performance. And I don't know if that's more so affecting teams that had to travel farther or teams that got there more recently. Like, maybe the EU teams are less damaged by this. Maybe it's not even that damaging. I don't know. It's just something I've sort of heard. Also, I keep hearing roster changes are supposed to come out by several of these teams after the major concludes, including the likes of Oxygen, of G2. Sonic's thing is already confirmed with Super leaving the squad after the major, but the other ones are like rumors and whatnot. So yeah, a few things coming out. I don't know if that's going to affect their performance in that regard, but okay, let's actually talk about it. Easy fourth place in the group. I mean, pretty much everybody's going to have Gaming Gladiators. The only reason you don't put them in last place is because, I don't know, you hope that you can will it into existence or something, but unfortunately they are extremely likely to get last place. And so it comes down to Oxygen, W7M, Wolves. Which team is not going to make it out of the group? So Wolves is the top seed of the group, but as everybody has been saying, EU certainly looks like the weakest region out of NA, LATAM, and EU, and so we'll leave APAC out of it for now. Yeah, certainly out of the three. Of course, NA dominated the last major, and tons of people expect that to be the case again here. It feels so hard to stay so dominant for for any amount of time. LATAM had a good solid year last year where they were winning everything. They were easily the best region, and now NA seems to be back on top, but it's unclear if they'll be able to stay there. Maybe the NA style will have been adapted, stolen, whatever, by other regions, or at least countered in some regard. Maybe it was a fluke. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a fluke. They did so well, but it was in NA major, right? It was on U.S. soil, maybe giving an advantage to some of the NA teams, not least of which in the amount of time they had to travel to get there, right? Okay, so I think my prediction is number 1, W7M, number 2, Auction, number 3, Wolves, and number 4, Gaming Gladiators here, and that's just a little bit of a feeling. And I mean, honestly, like, some of my predictions are like guesses because I don't watch a ton of any of the non-NA leagues. Like, I'll watch a little bit of EU, and honestly, a lot of time I'll just have it open and I'm not even actively watching it. Maybe I'll be doing something and I'll look over at my other monitor at certain moments. And yes, a lot of people have a lot of faith in Wolves. They didn't do very well at the last major. It is still the same squad, but they just added Mowgli, and he did pretty well. And they seem to have really honed their style and just practiced more as a team and whatnot. And yeah, they look pretty good, all things considered. W7M continue to look incredible, and they have faltered a little bit, and that's largely once they've, well, either not played against other LATAM teams or not played best of ones. And they are playing best of ones here, double round robin best of ones, but they're not playing against LATAM teams. It's unclear if that's going to help them or hurt them. I don't know if their style... I think they're largely playing their own game, and it's hard for other people to counter them, more so than they're countering other people, even if maybe they do it inadvertently. I feel like this should be a very good major for W7M. People thought that was going to be the case last time, and maybe it would have been had they not had the visa issues, but okay, so this is really their time to shine. Hopefully no last minute stuff comes out about them having any kind of issues, and maybe they are a little bit of villains, but I mean, definitely being the upstarts that they are, they just absolutely took over LATAM. They were, and of course they made roster changes and whatnot, but they went from like a relegation team or one of the worst teams in the league at something to easily the best team. And once again, not the first seed. They did lose to FaZe in Copa Elite 6, but they dominated Stage 1 and Stage 2, the regular stage. So Oxygen, one of the teams that is purported to have a roster change coming out. Maybe that'll cause some animosity, maybe none at all, I don't know. And the lopsidedness of Oxygen's stats last stage might be a little bit of a concern, with Newers playing incredibly, or statistically playing incredibly, Vertical not playing that well, again statistically, and then I guess the other 3 players were okay, but okay. If Vertical can come out at this event like he did in Stage 1, and Newers plays like Newers played in Stage 2, then, I mean, can anybody beat Oxygen? But okay, maybe if any of these teams find a good way to shut down Newers, it might be quite problematic. But I think Oxygen take it over Wolves, and it's sort of just a gut thing. I'm just gonna rock with it. So that is my pick one more time. First place W7M, second place Oxygen, third place Wolves, fourth place Gaming Gladiators, and I guess I'll go to Group D here next. Okay, Astralis, Elevate, Furia, MNM. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this is the weakest looking group, barring Astralis, which seems to be one of the stronger teams at the event. I also did say that Astralis seemingly has one of the biggest targets on their back, but maybe not by a massive margin. Yes, they were the best performing team at Charlotte, and so teams want to be able to do well against them. Obviously, Astralis was doing something right, so you need to either copy it or counter it or whatever if you're going to play against them. Elevate, Furia, MNM clearly will be playing against them. Other teams, if they make it out of group, may be playing against them. But they didn't win. They didn't win the regular stage by a massive margin, and so they're... I don't know how useful some of the VOD will be, because playing online is from early stage. It seems less than useful. Probably you can still glean some information about it. And yes, they were playing better towards the end of the stage, and so more recent VOD, more useful and whatnot. And of course, there is a ton of VOD on them from Charlotte. So I guess the meta hasn't really changed much since then. There's probably still a lot of useful information. They've probably also adapted. My understanding is that they brought Forceful on as a trial analyst, I think, for the event. So maybe that'll spice things up for them. It really worked out when Dark Zero did that with Nyx. I mean, you might not say that Nyx made them win the event, but maybe it's a coincidence, but maybe it's not, bringing on the trial analyst, and it did wonders for them, if nothing else, for I think to make them just a little bit more, how would you say, not resilient, but a little bit more versatile, I guess you might say. And okay, yeah, again, worked out for Dark Zero. Let's see if it works out for Astralis. Different person, of course, but still same sort of thing. Yeah, I expect Astralis to top the group. I don't know if they'll destroy this group. That's sort of what they did last major. They stomped everyone except for like one game they lost to BDS. but I think they like traded back and forth with BDS. I think it was maybe the very last game of the group for them as well that they lost, but whatever. They did lock in first place, and I don't think it was a massive margin. I think they tied BDS on points and just had the head-to-head. But anyways, yeah, Astralis in first place, and then it comes down to Elevate, Furia, and MNM, and I think I've seen Elevate as most people's second pick for the group, so most people's pick for second place in the group. Yeah, and I think more Furia than MNM. I think MNM the dark horse, and this might be a gut thing as well. Maybe this is just for to have a nice little spread of the regions, and actually for that purpose, maybe I should pick Elevate. I don't know if I'm gonna pick an APAC. I don't think I am, if I'm being quite honest. Yeah, I'm gonna with MNM. I just feel like they're a pretty good team, and maybe they haven't shown their full potential. Well, I think we've seen their potential, but they haven't just played to it entirely in EUL. They always fall short in some category, and last stage, they fell too short. They didn't make the major, and they made it not super comfortably, but they did make the major, I think, with a little bit of room to spare this time around. Were they one of the teams vying for it at the end? But yeah, I don't think they didn't just barely thread the needle. It was a little bit comfortable. Okay, had they won another game, it would have been extremely comfortable. But okay, they're here, and again, I think they're a good team, and probably certainly one of the better teams in Europe, which isn't necessarily saying something. It seems like a few of the teams are maybe getting close. And I guess the Russian teams are sort of in decline with Virtus Pro and Empire. Lots of issues there, and I feel especially badly for Virtus Pro because I thought they were quite a good team before, like pretty close to maybe cracking into the top 4. Made some roster changes, and now the current situation seems to be very adverse for them, or maybe they're just not as good as I thought they were. I don't know, whatever the case. But okay, here's MNM, and they're certainly better than the likes of the teams I mentioned, then Secret, then. There's what's the other team? Navi, right? And I think these teams are they're getting closer and closer, but they're still not very good. Okay, yeah. All of this to say, MNM, some pretty solid support players, some pretty strong fraggers, and if they just work on their overall game plan, which seems to be what they're doing, if they adapt to the meta just a little bit better, if they get better at playing against people rather than just sticking to playing their own game, I think they can do quite well, and a little bit of a sleeper pick, but I'm gonna opt for them. Elevate is just like a very large unknown. The last time I really saw them play was at Six Invitational, and they were good, and they were definitely a wild card there, but they did get shut down at a point, and I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's gonna happen here. I think Elevate versus Furia and like Elevate versus Astralis should be very fun to watch. And I think most of the matches in this group should be pretty fun to watch. But yeah, just sort of a gut feeling. And so my final choice, I think I'm going to go Astralis, MNM, Elevate, Furia. I just don't have a lot of faith in Furia. Maybe this is their event finally, but they've just fallen short too many times. And yes, it's a pretty new roster, but this is, I think, the same roster that they took to Charlotte. And were they one of the teams that had to play online? I'm actually, Team 1 did, W7, yeah, they were, right? So that certainly hurt them. I think it was only Liquid was the only LATAM team that actually didn't, that fully got their visas and everything. So, maybe I got to give them a little bit of credit there, but they just didn't look especially good. Maybe they were just that outclassed by Liquid and XSET, but okay, maybe it also was the playing on land thing. I just don't have a ton of faith in them. They're going to have to show me something before I put any amount of faith in them. So, maybe if they do make it out of this group, I will have some of that faith going forward. But for now, yeah, I'm going to go Astralis first, MNM second, Elevate third, Furia fourth. Okay, so let's go back up, and again, we'll get to Group A last. Let's talk about Group B. FaZe, G2, Sandbox, and Sonics. And so once again, the APAC team, I don't really have much faith in them, and I think the two APAC teams that you're going to have faith in at all, if you do, is Elevate and Damwon. So haven't talked about Damwon just yet. We'll get there. And okay, so yeah, I think Sandbox, definitely not easy last place. Maybe they'll come in and do better than any one of these teams. FaZe seems like a bit of a tall task. Maybe I'm just putting FaZe on a little bit of a pedestal, taking down W7M, coming in as the first seed from LATAM. And, you'd think that because a team won a major, it makes them more likely, but almost in my headcanon, it feels like it makes them less likely. I don't know, when's the last time we even seen the last time we saw repeat winners? We've seen, I guess, NiP won they didn't win two things, but they won Six Invitational 2021, and then they were runners up to FaZe at the Sweden major, right? So they were close, and I guess Empire was also, no, they didn't win anything. They were just at the finals of SI and the finals of Mexico. So I guess I'm not talking about winners. I'm talking about making it to the grand final. And tons of these teams would be happy to make it to the grand final. But if FaZe falls short there, yeah, I mean, maybe not up to their standards as major winners. So again, as I was saying, it just feels like it's probably going to be a new winner. There's only a handful of teams that have actually won anything, being NiP and FaZe and I guess G2, but not actually this roster. Sonics won NAL. But they didn't win any international events, and yeah, I guess that's it. I don't think anybody else has actually won an international event. Astralis made it to the finals of the last one, and yeah, okay, so that's pretty much all there is to speak of. I guess FaZe and NiP are looking for sort of not back-to-back wins, but repeat wins in a sense. So yeah, I think people do think FaZe is the strongest team in this group and most likely will come out on top. And Sonics, I've seen quite a lot of faith put in them, or at least to make it out of the group. I think G2 and Sandbox, most people imagine, are the two going out, but I've seen a few people say that maybe Sonics seem a bit overrated. I don't know if the whole Last Dance thing, this being Super's last event, is going to be better for them or worse, just as a mental thing. And this is going to be the first and only time that we see Sonics with their sort of new roles, with Super playing slightly different roles, and I guess also causing Kansan to play a little bit different roles. Maybe even we'll see something more different for this event, but probably they'll play pretty similar to how they did in NAL. Pretty successful in NAL. They did slip up a few times, Maybe they should have beat Astralis day one. Probably they should have beat Mirage and a few things here or there, but they played pretty well. Definitely one of the better teams, deserving to be the second seed from NA. If not the first or like the third, whatever. Okay, yeah, my pick, I have FaZe, Sonics, G2, Sandbox, and I feel like that's a pretty standard one. I think my group B and C predictions might be like the standard prediction. Maybe you switch like Auction, W7M. Maybe I underrate Wolves. I don't know, but I think for the most part, people have Auction and W7M making it out of here, and then FaZe and Sonics making it out of group B, and yeah, so that's what I'm gonna go with. I think Sonics are my preferred team to win the whole tournament. It'd be a very nice way to cap off Super's career, and then sort of cap off Sonics that I've been rooting for quite some time. And I guess I was a fan even before they picked up the current roster, before the United guys, and then I don't know, I stuck with them as a fan, even though it's an arbitrary thing to do. But now it's going to be none of the same guys. I did kind of like the United team as an underdog. As an underdog team, well, they were like really bad, right? And then they got a little bit better when they got Kansan or Rexen, and then they joined the Sonics, and they were very good. So I did like that storyline. And so I mean, I think a lot of people want to see Super go out with a whimper, get crushed by the likes of Prano and Alamau. But do I think it's gonna happen? No. I just think, even though, yeah, G2, that whole Super team thing, I did expect them to be a very top team in Europe when they first formed that team, but they just haven't clicked. We've seen some good performances from them, and certainly in the latter half of EUL stage number 2, yeah, they did make a pretty impressive run, and they did seem to evolve from getting crushed in those first 3 games. But the whole Shaz departure thing, I've heard that Prano is supposed to be leaving the team after the stage, and that's just one of the rumors. I guess we don't know that for certain. And I don't know, Citizen, Doki, Alamau, they've all been like star players, and they've all played well in their own rights, and Virtue as well. But I don't know. I just feel like they're going to fall to pieces at some point. It happened after they made it out of groups in the last major. I don't think they're making it out of groups here. But, I mean, they could surprise me. So, again, one more time, FaZe, Sonics, G2, Sandbox is my pick there. And then, okay, so finally Group A. Yeah, this one's so hard to call. I don't know. I mean, I guess I've called it the most volatile group, and I'm standing by that. XSET have sort of been the picture of consistency, but it's over a small enough window of time that it's really hard to call it true consistency. Rogue and Ninjas in Pajamas, if you widen your lens enough, if you look over a long enough period of time, they are like 2 of the most inconsistent teams. I guess Rogue used to have an NA roster, and well, it's a whole kind of a different story. But talking about Rogue, as long as they've been in EU, yeah, they were like last place, they were first place. So they've gone through a bunch of different players, and Ninjas of Pajamas, kind of the same thing, except for going through a bunch of players. They stuck with the same roster for quite some time, but they are on one new player now. They brought in Wizard. And Rogue has Spoit, I guess I should mention that. But yeah, Ninja Pajamas have been top. They were bottom. They were like really bad last stage, and they were quite good this stage, good enough to make the major at least. And so who do I think is going to make it out? I guess I didn't even mention Damwon. Yeah, I wouldn't say they've been like inconsistent. it's really hard to paint the whole picture because they missed out on the Charlotte Major. Probably they would have won it had it, or well, I think certainly they would have made it if the current system was in effect last stage, but they lost in the very laggy APAC playoffs, and so here they are now, probably as the rightful first seed for APAC. So APAC's best hope, but yeah, I'm not going with them. I don't know. I just sort of had this feeling, and yeah, maybe it's just like a how would you call it? Maybe like a recency bias type thing, where yeah, they did really badly at Gamers 8, and maybe that's not going to carry over to here. It was very recent, and you know, maybe they didn't prep for those teams very much. Also, maybe they were saving strats. I think both are entirely possible. They might really just be looking for a major win. They didn't care about winning in Saudi Arabia. So will it happen? It's entirely possible. I think people have a decent amount of faith in them. And who am I going to put my faith in here? So again, we have sort of the two more consistent teams, and then we have the two wilder teams, but they've made this roster change that seemed to have worked out relatively well. Maybe the Rogue one working out better with the instant success that Spoit has brought the roster and afforded himself. So I sort of deliberated on this before, and I guess I'm going to stick with what I came up with. This was just sort of a gut thing. It's just sort of a guess. I'm going to go with Ninjas in Pajamas #1, and I think that's actually like pretty insane to say. I don't know, over like Rogue and Damwon and even XSET. Maybe that's crazy, but I don't know. I mean, Ninjas in Pajamas, the way that they go from the top to the bottom, it seems like it's time for them to go back to the top. But maybe they're making a deep run in this tournament. I think it's entirely possible. A very talented roster, and I think they just made an IGL change, right, like mid-stage, and it really worked out for them. They made a sort of a resurgence similar to G2 within their own region. So I'm going to go with Ninjas in Pajamas. It's just sort of a gut feeling. And my second pick is XSET. So indeed, I did predict all the NA teams to make it out, but it did happen in Charlotte, so not the wildest claim ever. This is 3 of the same 4 teams. We just have now Sonics instead of Dark Zero here. So maybe that means Sonics will win because they're replacing the major winners for last time around. That's what I'm gonna go with. Okay, so Ninjas, XSET. I didn't decide on 3 and 4. Damwon, Rogue. So will Rogue really get the bottom here? I mean, they're a good roster as well. I feel like maybe they're a little bit easier to figure out. Maybe a lot of their success did really come from the purported, the seeming weakness of the EU region. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this one's insane. I think the most recent prediction I did look at had Damwon and Rogue as the top 2, and so okay, yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. Okay, so I guess I'll go down the line one more time and I'll sort of recap. I have Ninjas in Pajamas, XSET, Damwon, Rogue for Group A. In Group B, I have FaZe, Sonics, G2, Sandbox. In Group C, I have W7M, Oxygen, Wolves, Gaming Gladiators. And in Group D, Astralis, Eminem, Elevate, Furia. So I guess big APAC hater, major NA simp is what's coming out from this. Did I only get the one EU team in there? Yeah, no Wolves, no Rogue, no G2. So I have the one EU team and then 4 NA teams and like 3 LATAM teams. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So we'll see. It's a pretty similar spread to what we saw. It was 4 NA teams, 2 LATAM teams, and two EU teams is what the playoffs for Charlotte looked like. And well, Elevate wasn't there, so maybe they would have made it out of their group over Team 1. Seems fairly likely, but yeah, we'll never know. And maybe we'll have a better idea after we see how Elevate play here. But okay, so yeah, those are going to be my predictions. Let me know if you do enjoy this more long form video. I usually just condense what I say and maybe cut out a few things if I get to rambling, and try to cut it down to close to 10 minutes. But okay, so this is what we're going with. Yeah, so I don't know, any questions, comments, concerns, or requests, do feel free to leave them below. And with all of that being said, catch you guys in the next video.